Let's take a look at an approximation of what an ideal game of Dota should look like from the Radiant's perspective. By ideal, we first understand that the development of the game is not limited or slowed by the player's execution of a play. In other words, it is considered that all the players on a team are perfectly synchronized and press buttons in the right order at the right time. Secondly, the Radiant team carries out a specific series of moves that seek the highest victory probability. The whole purpose of this is to focus solely on the hero's movements on the map and help us visualize what would globally be the effect of those movements on the game. Our actors today are, on the Radiant side, Position 1 𝘎𝙧𝙧𝙖, Position 2 𝐴𝐻𝐽𝐬, Position 3 Legion Commander, Position 4 𝙎𝙧𝙧𝙧, Position 5 Disruptor. On the Dire side we have Position 1 Anti-Mage, Position 2 𝐽𝐬, Position 3 Axe, Position 4 Dark Seer, Position 5 Crystal Maiden. Please bear in mind that while the pick does matter and influences how a game will look like, the overall series of moves remain the same nonetheless. Therefore, try not to focus too much on that specific pick nor each hero's characteristics. They were all chosen to provide an example and could have been easily replaced with others. Without further ado, let's get started. As usual, the game begins with the laning stage. It is not of particular interest to us since it does not involve any significant rotations. Yes, the position 4 may look to gank mid. The mid laner may also go to the side lanes after getting his ultimate around the 5-minute mark. However, those rotations are not important since they rarely lead to the acquirement of an objective. Plus, regardless of whether the initiation was successful or not, successful as in led to a kill, each hero would go back to their respective lanes right after. Around the 7-8 minute mark is where the real game begins. Each core in the side lanes is hitting level 6 and scaling his ultimate, most notably the offlaner. At that point we witness the first meaningful rotation on the map. The position 5 leaves the safe lane to go and gank the top lane. The mid laner may join in as well, or keep the other mid laner busy. Since we assume perfect execution of every move, the result is a dead Dire carry, maybe even another hero that tried to help. The siege on the T1 tower is now possible and it quickly falls. As you can see, this area changes drastically. The Radiant acquires more territory and 2 neutral camps to farm. The rotation is a success and the laning stage is officially over. Around the 12-minute mark, the mid game starts, and it is time to prepare the second big move, an attack on the mid T1. This is going to require 2 things. First, a general mobilization of the Radiant team. All 5 heroes need to participate. Second, to force a rotation of the Dire to the side lanes prior to sieging the mid tower. Radiant pushes the lane all the way into the top T2 or bottom T1, forcing some heroes to react and commit teleports. They then immediately leave for mid. The Radiant carry, who should have his ultimate and at least an item, also migrates towards mid. The team starts a fight with a number advantage, 5 vs 4 minimum, wins it and takes the tower. Now that Radiant controls an important part of the enemy territory, they can start gaining a financial advantage by farming additional neutral camps. Doubly so by stopping the enemy from peacefully farming, since this is no longer a safe area for them, less vision and no more close places to run to for safety. The third big move, gating Roshan. Indeed, since there are no Dire towers close by anymore, it is difficult for the Dire to effectively contest it. Plus remember that Roshan is relatively weak at the beginning, he only gains strength with time. By preemptively placing vision and pushing waves into top and mid tier 2, all 5 Radiant heroes killing Roshan should be a relatively safe and quick action. Moving on, the Radiant now set their eyes on the mid T2 tower. The top T2 is going to crumble of erosion due to the team playing top most of the time and constantly shoving waves in. Unlike the top T2 and just like mid T1, the mid T2 is a tower of commitment and it is harder to take. The Radiant need to capitalize on all the advantages, financial, the Aegis, and even forcing a rotation on the side lanes once more to take an advantageous fight in front of the mid tower. After this successful move, they now have enormous map control, and the enemy is basically trapped inside their base. The mid-game is now over. The match is now entering the late game phase. The Radiant are looking to go high ground and go for the win. In order to do so, they are going to need special siege items that allow them to win a fight despite all the advantages Dire are going to enjoy defending their high ground. Such items can include Assault Cuirass, Guardian Greaves, Pipe of Insight, Crimson Guard, and Desolator. Since those can be relatively expensive, the Radiant is now camping the Dire jungle and triangle, looking to gain a substantial financial advantage by farming the additional neutral camps, while at the same time starving the enemy team of resources and keeping them trapped inside their base. Once the second Roshan appears, it is time for Radiant to make a move. Again, with vision and preemptively pushing both top and mid lanes, acquiring the Aegis should be just a formality at this point. Sieging the high ground is the final move. Unless the Dire makes a mistake, this is going to be an all-out 5v5 fight. But with everything perfectly executed until now, the Radiant have all that is required. If Dire commits a lot of buybacks, Radiant may only get the mid T3 before having to retreat. In this case, the end is simply delayed. The team waits for everyone to reset and then charges in as one once again to take the final fight. With the tower gone, this is also a formality at this point. With no major obstacles stopping them anymore, Radiant can look to rush the throne and seize victory. The late game finishes along with the match.